It's been a really, really interesting week for me. Week that really culminated in a rebirth. And that is what we want to do in these classes. We want to go through a rebirth. So we really have to focus inside ourselves and understand that when things are in a turmoil, when things are difficult, there's no other way of having a rebirth at the end of the road. And I went through a week like that this week. It was extremely, extraordinarily difficult. But at the end of the road, there was a new me coming out, and I'm amazingly grateful for that. I really am very grateful. I told Marit, I would never recommend it to anybody I love to do this work unless you really have this mad thing inside you, this divine madness. To do this work otherwise, it's real torture. Because if you want to grow and have a rebirth, you really have to go through stuff. There's no other way around that. You have to have this, divine madness inside you to go through it. And that's what this week was for me, on many, many levels. At the end of which, I felt different. I felt quieter, I felt more detached. And that's what I'm feeling now, a lot more detached with a lot of stuff that's going around. And I'm, again, deeply, deeply grateful. Had I known a minute before, I would run for my life. But they never really let you know. They just reward you for this work by, tearing you apart inside. And people have to understand, you don't come doing this work just to say that you are doing a meditation or Kundalini yoga, or you're doing this work to have a rebirth. You have to be reborn again and again and again. That is the purpose of sitting and doing it. And a person has to be ready for that. Really ready. Few people are really ready for that work. You have to go through so many other works to get to this work eventually. So when you sit and, do the exercise, remember, you're here to work. It's spiritual work. It's not this la-di-da-da meditation where you have a serene smile on your face. It's a meditation to break down the tensions, the blocks, the limitations that stop us from experiencing the higher creative force. That's what we are doing here. Working to experience this force coming to us, to become really a vehicle for that force. Christ said, "Eat my flesh, drink my blood." Well, what I'm doing here, I'm breaking down my flesh to come as an energy. You break down the limitations inside. You're really breaking down blocks in yourself that become food, whoever wants to eat it. So you have to be really ready for this work. And when you're going through a hard time, just remember, there's no growth otherwise. And you look at every plant, every brush, every seed that has to penetrate the earth and become from a seed, a little plant. He has to break the earth. And then he has to tolerate people stepping on it, dogs peeing on it, and still grow, And that's what we are. We have to really tolerate everything in life and make it an opportunity for us to grow. And at the end of the road, of course, there's joy. There's a lot of joy. But years ago, I read a very good book by Dostoevsky called Brother Karamazov. I don't know if any of you heard of it. An amazing book, but one of the biggest Russian classic, Dostoevsky. And he talks about a family, Karamazov, 19th century Russia. And the young guy in the family, his name was Ilyusha. He goes to an old priest in a monastery next to his home. 99-year-old priest, and it's his mentor and teacher. And Ilyusha is 20 or so. And he comes to him daily for months and years on. And one day this old priest comes to him and says, Ilyusha, I don't want you to come anymore. So Ilyusha starts, begging and crying, why? Master, why? I want to come. So he says to him, look, Ilyusha, I want you to go into the world, and through suffering, you'll find happiness. I read it, I was a young kid, It never really fully dawned upon me what it said, except that I remembered it for some reason. And it's true, We all want to be happy, but happiness is going to be through a lot of suffering. It's the end product of going through it consciously, allowing it to open you, not to close you. You're not singled out for suffering. You're just given God's love in a different form. Mm-hmm. And you take that love, this very, very painful love, and turn it inside into joy and happiness. And that's what we are learning here. This is the process. And as I said many times, it's not for the meek of heart. It's not for the meek of heart. You really have to be a prehistorical animal. You really have to have this divine madness in you to be able and want to go through stuff like that. So whenever you come here and do this work, you have to remember it. You're not coming just because you have a yoga class or a course in enlightenment, all that stuff. You're coming here because you're seeking rebirth, transformation. Anything less than that, it's really pointless. It's a lot of hard work for nothing. You want to have a rebirth. Very simple. Before we have a class, does anybody have a question?
No, sir.
Sometimes when I get a glimmer that I'm having a rebirth,
at me.
I'm then, but I think of you as up there.
Look at the camera.
Okay. I feel a lot of guilt and a lot of regret. I know you said guilt was death, but I have no idea how to turn some of these feelings into energy.
Look, Glenn, yeah, we all look, you've had a life behind you. Of course you have guilt and this and regrets and unfulfilled desires. It's all crap, Glenn. It's all stuff. It's all stuff. And of course it hurts and it weighs on you, and take that stuff, wrap it up and burn it down, It's all stuff. And you, through years of being with it, and God knows, maybe lifetimes, you got attached to it. Do you understand? You got attached to that stuff. It's like part of your being now. And you have to get detached. We are attached to our blocks. That's why it's so hard to let go of them. We are attached to them. They are poison, but they all we know. That's what we have inside. That's our raison d'etre. That's why we are here. We feel this stuff inside. And we think that's what we are. Nothingness is very hard to live with. You got to really be detached. Then you'll have this nothingness inside. So your guilt, we can talk hours about that, Glenn. And your pain and your life and all, we can talk hours. It's all stuff. It's in the past. And the past does not exist. I never know whether my past is real or is something that I imagine. I mean, anybody can tell me what it was? Are you sure about your past? It was real? Or is it now figments of your imagination now? It's tough. Take it in, bring it down, and burn it. Turn it into energy.
That was my question. Thank you. You just answered it.
So, guilt and stuff. Do you want to really marinate yourself in that? You sure you don't want to? You sure you're not enjoying it too much?
I deserve it.
You deserve happiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to start looking at yourself differently. If you deserve that, then you don't deserve enlightenment. I told you, you have to develop this insatiable divine madness and to reverse your life course. And just be grateful because you bring to the plate a lot of experience. You know, when I met my teacher, I was 26 or so. And around him at that time were a group of 18 years old kids, 20 years old kids that came from Indiana. You know, they were part of a group there, and the teacher there sent them to help Rudy build a bathroom in their house. They're all students, 20 years old or so, and I was 26. And they were sitting in class, and they were having these amazing experiences. They were flying all over the place, screaming, flying, and I was sitting like a rock because I brought a lot of garbage with me these 26 years. And I got very, very frustrated and jealous of these kids. And I came to Rudy once and I said, Rudy, I don't feel anything. And I'm sitting and really, really, really wanting and wanting. And these kids, I look at their faces, and those are the words I told him. And I saw blank faces, like they are a blank page, nothing in life. And they're having all these experiences. So Rudy answered that way. He said, look, it's like, you're like a pyramid. You have built the base, and now you're climbing slowly up. And these kids are like inverted pyramid. They'll have to come down someday and build their base. And true enough, none of them stayed at the work. They all went into their life. So you're bringing a lot of garbage to this work. And it's fantastic. You have a lot to burn. You can't look at it any other way unless you love your guilt. And unless you love your whatever you were indulging in, you know, you can't. Why go talk about phantoms and shadows? Why talk about shadows? Why not talk about joy? Go, you know, break into weddings, not into funerals. Crash into weddings. You know, there was a movie, Wedding Crashers.
Yeah.
You need to make a movie, the Funeral Crusher. That's what you want to be? Crash into weddings, not into funerals. Start uplifting your energy, Glenn. You came at the right time, at the right place. And you come 30, 40 years ago, maybe you would have not been here now, you know? You came at the right time, at the right place. Maybe that's all you need. 10, 15 years of this work and you will have enlightenment. You understand? Your age is irrelevant unless you make it relevant. Totally irrelevant. I don't care if you are 90 or 15. Forget Rudy, you know. It was then in New York, it was during the gay revolution. Everything just started with the gay movement. And you would get a lot of gay people coming. We had a lot. And then there were, you know, talk about the feminism, feminists and this and that. And Rudy once referred to it. He said, men, women, it's all the same shit. It is so true. It's the energy, it's the force inside you. Whether it's in a man or it's in a woman, who cares? Whether you're 15 or 85, Who cares? It's about this force. So stop living in the past. And I know it's not going to happen in a day, but start trying and I'll help you. Does anybody else have a question?
Yes. What you're saying now reminds me of one of the many
What
powerful,
is your question, Robert?
it's profound what you say that we deserve to be happy. And it is such a foreign concept that you can't say it enough to get through. But it changed me.
I've
I
been
didn't
saying it every day for the last 40, 50 years, every day. How many more times can I say that?
Sometimes I believe it, but it took a while to get through.
Well, I know, Robert, look, that's why there is repetition. I heard things only after 20 years. I suddenly said, wow, where was I? Where was I? I'm beginning to hear things Rudy told me now.
Wow.
Better that than 50,000 lifetimes. You know, we are thick. We are very thick creatures. Look at the bird, look at the butterfly. We are thick, but we are born this way. We are meant to be this way so we can reverse the process. You know? Yeah, we are deserve to be happy. It's our birthright. Anybody tells you differently, walk away. About if some, Christian thing tells you about guilt, the original sin, walk away. It's our birthright to be happy. We messed it up, but that's okay. It's all part of the process, This world is in a state of perfection. If it wasn't supposed to be this way, it would not be this way. That's it. But it's been really just very powerful couple of weeks, But I demanded rebirth. I demanded that. I don't want to go through this stuff just to say, oh, I survived. I'm not a survivalist. You want to go through it to get a rebirth, a transformation. And that's what you should demand when you're going through hard time. Does anybody have a question?
I have one. It feels sometimes like when I'm in classes and maybe for a short time after I meditate, I feel like I'm more in the psychic realm. And then I feel like I shift into being out in the world and I go back to being the old man, me, and I don't feel like they're connecting at all.
You're not an old man, you're a being, you see. The moment you stop the class, you get back into your thoughts and minds and all the nonsense. In class, you're able to detach a little bit, You go back into your daily life again. It's about being old, young, beautiful, ugly, all this stuff, You just have to separate. You have to remind yourself during the day, Take a breath every now and then. Remind yourself of the being that you are. You're a being. What does it matter, old or young or this or that? You have a soul force, right? That's infinite. And just going through the journey in the cosmos. Don't take it so seriously, Just be serious about one thing. That's to have your enlightenment. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Being old, being young, you are seeking your freedom. So you don't have to mess with this stuff anymore. Of young and old and handsome and ugly and who cares about stuff? Nourish your soul force. Nourish your soul force all the time, every second of the day. Nourish your soul force. Not that, not understanding. You come from a very, from the opposite You're a psychiatrist, for crying out loud. You come from the opposite side. You know, go, if you're in A, go to Z. If you're in Z, go to A. Go against your grain. You've learned how to analyze everything. So learn how to not analyze. Learn how to be, just be. It's the hardest thing for us to be. You know, we need to be busy, to have this, to have that, but just to be. Go to the other side of yourself and you'll grow. Again, it's not going to happen in a day, you know. This energy is so powerful. It can't happen in a day because you'll burn away to smithereens. But, you know, it's a gradual process. And I tell you, it's fun. It really is fun to see your evolvement. See that you're not the same jerk you used to be 2 years ago, a year ago, you know? Getting more conscious. There's more nobility in your heart. You're not such a vengeful little thing, you know? You're not just a fool. You're getting, you know, some nobility. So you're getting closer to God. It's a fun process.
Feels more painful.
What?
It feels more painful than fun.
Because you identify with pain. Identify with fun. You know, people are also very attached to sufferings. Stop identifying with this part of you. We all suffer, you know? So what? Can we take it to the bar and cry over a beer? See the joy, you know? Look at another human being and don't get attached to what you see on their face, the misery, the suffering, the hard time, which makes you get defensive and uncomfortable. See the God inside them, beyond what they project. To get caught in what they project is easy, because they project exactly what's inside you. But go one past that, and you'll find that thing inside you too.
That's cool.
I used to always want to see people that are wonderful and nice and this and that, and shy away from those that, you know, don't look so great and have a hard time. And I've changed the last 10 years. Behind what they project is this same being, you know, that wants love and nourishment and to be happy. Basically the same child. There's still a child inside every human being. Every human being, there's still a child in there. You know, want the same thing he had as a child, the sweetness and love and the mother to take care of, you know, it's, so go to that part in them, you know? Instead of the painful and the hard. I don't see any more painful when I look at people than I used to. Projected what's inside me all the time. You go past that level in a human being. You're going to the God in them, you know? And suddenly you see the God in you. So stop identifying with pain. I mean, when I was a young kid, I had a joke, so funny, about a bunch of people who gather, you know, every Friday for a poker game, right? And of course, while they talked, everybody yaks about the problem, about the sufferings. They all, you know, talk about that. So finally, one of them had a great idea. I said, you know what? Let's just swap. Let's just imagine we're putting our sufferings on the table and swap. And they all put this imaginary suffering on the table, right? And what happens? They all run to grab their own back.
Yes.
We think we suffer more, and then you see somebody else is suffering. Boy. So just project into their goodness. Forget this pain stuff. You know. I'll give you my pain, and you'll run for your life. Look, when I met Rudy, I was about to die. I just couldn't take it anymore because I looked into the world and I saw the pain in people. I was really like the Kuan Yin, you know? I was a Kuan Yin when I was a young kid. And I was about not being able to take it anymore. It's just really, I couldn't take it. And Rudy said, Ali, I'll teach you something. You take all this pain down here, you know, so you can look at people's pain and not, you know, identify and break your heart and work with it. And that's what I've been doing. I see people's pain. When I was a young man, it almost killed me. I looked around and I saw how people suffer. I really was like this Kuan Yin, you know. So fortunately, we have this miracle, but you don't have to identify with it. You understand? Learn to bring it down. Otherwise, you'll be like, you know, when you have a feeling that fell out of your tooth, what does your tongue do all the time?
Touch it and feel it.
Go into the hole, right?
Yeah.
Well, you want to do it with your pain? So the less you talk about it, Glenn, the faster you will heal. There's always this temptation to talk about it. You know, I know. You know, the less you talk about it, start being smart with yourself, you know. You're a psychiatrist, supposed to be smart. People pay you. Nobody pays me. Nobody pays me. I mean, this lecture could have changed. You know how many people, if they knew it? This lecture was today. It would have changed me if I hear it again. So don't be like, you know, your tongue going into the hole, the missing hole in your tooth, you know? Start identifying with the joy in your heart, with the people that love you, you know?
When you were talking about the mirror earlier, it occurred to me that when I'm struggling with a negative, let's say a betrayal or something like that with somebody, that if I look at joy, focus on joy and gratitude, that the energy, it's almost like a sound turning up the volume, completely drowns out the betrayal. It almost forgot about it even there because it's overwhelmed by the higher vibrations.
It's true. Joy overwhelms pain. And again, my endless example. Look at a child that has a sore throat that would put you in bed with this and that, misery. Try and get this child to come home. No, Mom, I want to play some more. They detach. The sore throat is this big and they are big. With human grown up, the sore throat is that big and we are detached from the pain, you know, go to different vibration. And it comes to what I said, you know, stop being attached to pain and suffering. Get attached to joy. Become a wedding crusher, not a funeral crusher. You never see people crush funerals, right? But you see people crush weddings. Because deep in us, we all are striving for joy. You know, this lecture should be, oh God, I'm tired of talking about it. You guys do whatever you want, you know. This is good. I've learned so much. Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing this hour with me. Really, I'm grateful.